Anyway, I mean, aside from everything that we've been just sitting there chit-chatting about, as far as sexuality, it's like, look, even Ian and I have to admit, as adults, as young men, that, when we hit puberty, just like any other teenagers, we would always try to find porn on the internet or anything like that. Stereotypical teenage boy stuff when you hit puberty. And I think with some of the comics today, as risque as they are, it's almost the equivalent of reading like a Playboy or a Hustler for like, littler young kids. It's like that feeling of being behind enemy lines and, trying to, decipher what's going on in that picture, seeing foldouts, I mean, that's...
whenever I actually got the all the X-Men movies on DVD, all the parts when Rebecca Romijn would show up as Mystique, I would just pause the movie and stare very, very hard at her body and just try to get hard from that.
And I have to admit, and I do admit this, that remember when Sue Storm wore the halter top in the 90s Fantastic Four comics? I would look at that, and then I would look at like She-Hulk, and I always consider She-Hulk to be, shall we say, my guilty pleasure, if you want to call it that, because I don't want to scare you, the viewers, or make y'all think that I'm like one of these weirdo perverts. But there is just something that when I look at a character like She-Hulk or Wonder Woman, it is not only the fact that they are tremendously strong, but it's like, depending on the artist, if they have like a certain muscle definition, it kind of drives me nuts, because it's just, I don't know why. Maybe I like really tone and fit women, but not like overly like robust or muscular or like, I don't know how to really describe it, and quite frankly I'm not going to get into all that, but my main point is that I think I think sexuality in comics, whether it be from the sex appeal of a character or even to seeing characters, especially characters like, Mary Jane and Peter, or, Clark and Lois, there's a certain intimacy factor. Or if you see like certain characters that you kind of want to see get together, yes, fangirls and fanboys, rejoice. I kind of lump into this category because on Young Justice, I kind of want to see Superboy and Miss Martian get together. Like, my inner fangirl is just waiting for that moment when Connor finally, it clicks for him, and they finally, get together. And I know that sounds weird coming from a 23-year-old man and describing his inner fangirl, but, it's just, when you look at stuff like that, I think that's kind of where the culture's going at, Ian, is I think this whole mindset of that we wish that we were those characters and that we could, interact and actually, touch and kiss and, just snuggle and cuddle and whatever, with the counterpart character to the actual favorite character, and my eyes just went cross-eyed and my brain hurts. Ow!
Yeah, I was about to say, starting to get a little creeped out by this topic.
Okay, moving on. Looks like I have some editing to do. Nah, I always leave my videos unedited because, when you edit a video down, dude, it just... people think that you're fake and that you just are very afraid to expose how you truly are. And I'm not afraid to be who I am. So...
me neither.
So, what basically it boils down to... let's see, we talked about sexuality, we've talked about females in comics. Now, one that's a very interesting topic, and say what you will about this. I'm sure a lot of you have your own opinions about this, but you know, do we feel with shows like Batman Brave and the Bold, you know, use that as an example, do we think that lesser known characters being brought in, is it sometimes too much for, like, you know, newer comic book fans or casual comic book fans? Like, is it basically like an information overload for them to try to remember all these, like...
I don't think that's too much, because I watched an episode of Brave and the Bold, and I saw a couple of characters called the Challengers of the Unknown. I kind of looked at this and I was like, what the hell are these people? So I looked it up on the internet, and I actually figured out that it's a team of characters created by Jack Kirby. I was like, another Jack Kirby creation I was totally unaware of.
And I think, well, I'm talking more on the premise of, you know, because Brave and the Bold introduces us to a lot of characters and a lot of variations of characters. And when I say variations, I'm talking about characters like, you know, Guy Garner and Jay Garrick and, you know, Jaime, you know, Reyes and all these other characters, as opposed to like Ted Kord, Barry Allen, Hal Jordan, or Kyle Rayner.
I think one of my favorite parts of Brave and the Bold is the whole aspect of it centering on the Blue Beetle characters. Like, I like how it focuses a whole lot on Ted Kord and Jaime Reyes, and also about how they talk about like the whole history of the Blue Beetle. I just really love that aspect to the show.
I think one thing that really,
see Batman team up with more Justice Society characters.
And you know, it's a shame that Brave and the Bold is coming to a close, and that's one thing that angers me, because if it went on like the Batman animated series did, we could have been introduced to characters like Aztec, Animal Man, Power Girl would eventually have shown up. We would have also seen, you know...
There's nothing to say that these characters won't show up in Season 3.
Oh no, there's nothing to say that they won't, but it's like, how would you include all of them and not make it seem goofy?
Oh, I mean, that's kind of a moot point. The show is already goofy.
Yeah, you got me on that one. Okay, now... But I'm just saying though, dude, I mean, we've got these comic book series, and it's like I said, you know, a while ago, it's like, with stuff like this, they could continue it in comic books, and they can continue it in video games. There's no saying that, you know, that just because the show ends that they can't continue it, because I really like the concept of Brave and the Bold, and I think that there's many different characters that deserve their just due. And I'm kind of mad because, you know, they've only shown Dr. Fate in like 2 or 3 episodes. I want to see Dr.